hydroxides. All right, so we're going to repeat the 4 cations now with sodium hydroxide, 6 molar sodium hydroxide. I'm going to add 1 drop to each test tube and look for the formation of a precipitate. So when we look at barium and magnesium, we can see magnesium forms a precipitate, whereas barium does not. And cadmium and aluminum both form a precipitate. So we can discard our barium sample. It did not react. To these 3 test tubes, we are now going to add 1 milliliter of our 6 molar sodium hydroxide. And look for the formation of a complex ion. So we can see that the aluminum sample redissolved and formed a complex ion, whereas cadmium did not. And our magnesium sample may have redissolved some. There's still a precipitate on the sides. Let's add a few more drops. Sodium hydroxide, just to make sure. We can see our sample still cloudy, did not redissolve. So aluminum formed a complex ion here. It had a precipitate and then the precipitate redissolved. Now we're going to acidify our solutions. Piece of litmus paper. So I'm going to add 6 molar to the magnesium solution. Solution still basic. Still basic. We have a lot of hydroxide in there, so it might take a bit of acid to acidify the solution. Alright, our solution is acidified, and the magnesium precipitate redissolved. Now for cadmium. Still basic. And our precipitate redissolved upon the addition of acid. With our aluminum sample, we have no precipitate there. We're going to see if our precipitate reforms upon the addition of acid. So our solution is now acidic, and it is still clear. All right, we now have our 4 samples, and we are going to be adding ammonium hydroxide, or ammonia, to each of those test tubes. So first we add 1 drop. So we formed a precipitate for aluminum, cadmium. There's a slight precipitate for magnesium, but there's none for barium. So we can discard our barium sample. We're now going to add 1 milliliter to each test tube. Our cadmium precipitate actually dissolves upon the addition of ammonia, whereas magnesium and aluminum remain precipitates. The cadmium's a little bit cloudy, but it's a lot clearer than it was before, and as you can see, there's no precipitate stuck on the wall, but it does have kind of a cloudiness to the solution, whereas magnesium and aluminum definitely have precipitates. So now we're going to acidify these solutions. Starting with magnesium. Still basic. Still basic. Now it's acidic, so you can see there's a vapor forming on top of the fluid, and so this is actually the test tube's warm to the touch, so the acid and base are neutralizing one another in the test tube. Now for cadmium. acid. Still basic. Get a fresh piece of litmus paper. Solution's acidic. Everything is dissolved. You see that vapor again from the acid and base neutralizing one another. Aluminum precipitate. Solution is now acidic. And it appears that the precipitate remains. Make your observations.